People who love and value who you are will go out of their way and break their neck to understand you. I tell anybody that I deal with on a regular basis is if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. And you might have people be like, why you gotta have it on the calendar? You should, if it's important to you, you ought to just remember. I'm not set up like that. Going through executive dysfunction is like knowing your internet is on, but no matter what you try to watch on TV, everything is buffering. And I just like bagged away from the computer, like, I'm done. I finished the book. It's done. Oh my God. I finished writing a book. This is everything that I am about put into a book. And I was by myself. Yo, what's happening? What up, dope? And welcome to another edition of the Align Creative Podcast. I am your host, CL Palmer, aka CZ Pod Gang. And today on the podcast, we are going to talk about some real neurodivergent ADHD topics. Number one, we're going to get into how to tell when somebody really values who you are and whether or not this is somebody that you need to be next to. And then we're going to get into something that I feel like everybody can relate to. We're going to talk about finishing tasks, getting to the finish line, completing, checking it off the list, something that we all have trouble with when it comes to executive dysfunction and trying to make things happen. So I got a little story I want to tell, and I hope it inspires you to make sure that you are getting all the things you need to get done. But before we get into the podcast, as always, I got to give you some gratitude for showing up, giving this podcast a chance. I really hope you get some value because you took time out of your day to say, I could get a little bit better by taking in this content. So I'm going to do everything I can to deliver on that promise. Okay. The quote for today is: the judgment of others is much too heavy to carry into the land of freedom. Now, that is a CL original quote. Yes, I am somewhat of a writer. And this quote is all about being seen and showing up and doing the thing without having to shackle yourself about how other people think. Because I think a lot of times people will get stuck in these cycles where they want to do something, they want to be their biggest, baddest self, and they be worried about what somebody else gonna say, what the haters gonna be thinking, and it stops so much momentum. And I just got to tell you right now, if you are going to be free, you got to let go of judgment from other people because it'll always be there. It doesn't matter if you do everything they say you should do or you do everything you want to do. They're still going to find a way to judge you some way, somehow, because you are always going to end up wanting to be yourself in any situation. So why even go and jump through the hoops and just be yourself from the jump and be the loudest, most brightest version of yourself possible? Do that for me and do it for you, please. All right. Now, let's take a quick break and then we're going to get into the podcast. All right, y'all. So I put out a couple videos in the last couple weeks talking about my neurodivergent journey through life, some of the ups and the downs, figuring out that I had been going all life just using the wrong playbook. I spent too much time trying to fit in and meet expectations that weren't ever fit for me in the first place. And I really want to talk about relationships, but more importantly, the value that you bring and how to tell if you are valued in a relationship. Now, this isn't just romantic relationships. We not about to do a whole men versus women podcast. If that's what you came for, then I'm sorry to disappoint you. But this will apply to any romantic relationships and friendships and partnerships, on the clock, off the clock, however you want to put it. Because I think this is something that, as a neurodivergent, that we must really take seriously. I could say, like, as being a black man, we often will devalue ourselves for money. We will devalue ourselves for the affection of a woman. We will devalue ourselves to fit in and mask and try to be something that we not, when we know that the people that we around and the situations they put us in ain't really cut out for us in the first place. So to begin, I want to say this. I'm going to butcher this quote, but the thing that you really need to take away from this episode is people who love and value who you are will go out of their way and break their neck to understand you. Let me say that again. People who love you and value who you are will go out of their way and break their neck to understand you. As someone who is neurodivergent, dealing with ADHD requires everyone on the team to be of support in some way or somehow. I have to be a good teammate by making sure that everybody knows what it is I need to be a great team player. And then I need other people to understand what it means for them to help me be a great team player. I need them to understand if something doesn't go exactly how they thought it should, then there may be something else going on. There is no reason to rush to judgment because they know who they are dealing with. This is what I call understanding. One of the main things that I tell anybody that I deal with on a regular basis is if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. Straight up. And you might have people be like, why you gotta have it on the calendar? You should, if it's important to you, you ought to just remember. I'm not set up like that. I'm not, unfortunately, if I was somebody who had the working memory to keep up with all the things that was even important to myself that didn't involve anyone else, then sure, I would need to put it in my calendar. Because I'm someone who is always two steps from falling into a rabbit hole of any kind, and I will forget about everything else that exists in the world, I need people to help me stay on track. I need the technology and I need the support apparatus to keep me on point. And when you are put in situations where people do not have the capacity to go out of their way to understand you, 9 times out of 10, it's because they don't have the capacity to understand themselves fully. It's very easy to get people who really understand themselves to look at you as a full person and see you for all the pros and the cons that you are and not just the role that you play with them and really understand who you are and what you have going on because it's not something that I could just turn off. I'm not going to wake up one day and all of a sudden I'm going to remember everything. I'm not going to wake up one day and just have elite focus at all times. I will get distracted. It's going to happen. That's why I got the meds. That's why I meditate. That's why I had to watch what I eat. I am doing the things necessary to help myself. But if we're going to be on the same team and you value who I am and what I can bring to the table, you will do everything you can to make sure that I can bring it. You could pick the sport. If we're talking football, if I'm playing quarterback, you got to give me the right playbook. Don't have me out here running Tom Brady plays and I play like Lamar Jackson. Think about it if it was basketball. If I'm 5'9", I'm not about to be playing in the low post trying to get buckets all day. That ain't the right type of offense to be running. I need to be in some pick and roll action. I know I might be losing some of y'all, but the point being is like, put me in the best position to score. If there's something that you want me to be committed to, tell me what it is and how I need to show up. So if I tell you how I need to show up, you can do the exact same thing. When people lack the capacity, when you are neurodivergent, you will often find yourself dealing with a couple things that come up all the time. Number one is RSD, rejection sensitivity dysphoria. Basically, that means if I explain myself in an honest way and you don't accept me because I came up short, or you're not wanting to accept me as a whole person and everything flaws and all that I come with, it hurts very deeply. Like, let's just keep the calendar example. And I miss an appointment that I'm supposed to meet you with, and it's not on the calendar. If I already told you, yo, make sure you put that on the calendar so I know when to show up, and you don't put it on the calendar, and then when the thing comes up and I don't show up because you didn't put it on the calendar and you get enraged with anger and you scream at me, and I'm just telling you like, hey, look, I just got caught up in work and it wasn't on my calendar. Well, it should have been important to you. You should have just came in and you just doing all this. And I'm like, I'm gonna feel terrible. I already feel terrible because I didn't show up, because it actually means something for me to do what I say I'm going to do. I am a noble person. But then for you to not do the thing that I ask you to do, and then when it ends up not going the way you expected, and you're not accepting the fact that I don't always do well in this scenario, you are rejecting who I am at my core. And that feels terrible. And I don't see a lot of black men talking about RSD because it requires you to honor and acknowledge the fact that you have feelings and your feelings can be hurt. You dig? Like, not dudes do not want to be admitting that they hurt. But when you go out of your way to explain yourself in a very pragmatic nature, and you not you're not making excuses, you're really just wanting someone on the other side of this transaction to understand you. That's all you're looking for. But when that person doesn't have the capacity to hold who you are as a whole being, you won't get that understanding and you will continually get hurt. You will suffer that RSD because they are telling you from the way that they interact and treat you and the thing, and not willing to go out of their way to do the things that help cultivate a smooth transaction to facilitate you being at your best. When you're ADHD, if you're by yourself, you just by yourself. But somebody like me, I got a bunch of kids, a couple baby mamas, and I tell everybody all the time, I need your help. Help me help you. I am phenomenal at logistics. I have great pattern recognition. I know a little bit about a lot of things. I am very good at putting the pieces together. But what I'm not good at is keeping track of time. That ain't it. Straight up. I can't even, it's really no other way around it. Like, when I think about me being in a situation where I get to working on something that I'm really passionate about, I lose track of all time. I will lose sleep. Like last night, I was working on a few templates that I'm about to drop soon. And I started around like 11 o'clock. And the next thing you know, it's 3 a.m. Now, hey, when you in that hyper focus, when you in the zone, you in the zone. But then if you interrupt my hyper focus and I'm a little agitated, and I've already explained to you that interrupting my focus is not a great thing to do. Anybody knows that little focus breaking rage is a little hard to let go. And if you are dealing with somebody who is ADHD, you're going to have to leave your sensitivity at the door. You cannot take that personal. You have to be willing to understand that the person on the other side of this transaction has a very hard time getting into a focus. And once they get there and they're going and they're rolling, it becomes an achievement in itself. And then you break it. Yes, it is unreasonable to get that upset because somebody interrupted you. It is absolutely unreasonable, but that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. This is what I mean by accepting and understanding, helping us. It may be important that you do interrupt us, but having that understanding, allowing us to have a little bit of extra time to really get back in the flow. There's a lot of things you could do to help facilitate not getting that broken focus ADHD rage. Because I'm telling you, if somebody is really dedicated to what they're doing, it may not happen every time, but it's gonna happen. All right. So here's one more thing, and then I'm going to just wrap it up. So when it comes to being neurodivergent, ADHD, AuDHD, if you are working with someone who is ADHD, AuDHD, neurodivergent, anywhere on the spectrum, the thing that you have to know is if we share something that we care about, we trust you. Curiosity about the person that you are dealing with is one of the best ways to communicate that you care, because a lot of us are into real quirky things, and some of the stuff is a little off the beaten path. Some of us just do art. I do music, I write, all type of things. And that means if we share that stuff with you and you show zero interest, that's a little bit more of that RSD. And what happens is we end up questioning ourselves. We start to question whether or not, am I safe to be myself around this person? Can I trust this person with the things that mean the most to me? If you want someone who is neurodivergent to trust you, all you got to do is bring some curiosity. Even if it's something that you can't really relate to, if we bring something to you, we are showing you love and we are showing you trust. Strike up a conversation, ask about it, do a little research, see if there's somewhere that you can contribute or just gain some knowledge, whatever. Just showing a little bit of interest shows that you are willing to come towards us and give us the satisfaction of feeling seen and, most importantly, loved. We are in a world where work is overemphasized. People are putting all their value into their output. And if you are dealing with someone that you truly care about, you have to let that person have that thing about them and fully engage with it. Don't make them feel bad about doing it. Don't make them feel like it's dumb. Make them feel any type of way about the thing, because then you no longer are safe, because they're going to be that person anyway. Depending on where they are at in their journey, they may question themselves or they may just get distant. But either way, you won't get the best version of them. So please remember, people who value and love you will go out of their way and break their neck to understand you. All right? Hope this has been helpful. Let's take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about checking the box. Still Line Creative. Welcome back to the Align Creative. I'm your host, CL Palmer, aka CZ Pod Gang, and I hope that last session was something that helped somebody out there feel seen. That's the main objective of a lot of my content. On this side of the podcast, I want to talk about completing the task, getting it across the finish line, checking the box, wrapping it up, shipping it, however you want to call it. This is by far one of the most painful things that someone with ADHD has to deal with, because we pick up and put down everything. We lose interest and we're done. We get distracted and it's not done. We get caught up in life and get pulled in all these different directions, and anything that was important that we were working on doesn't get done. I talked about this in one of my videos about ADHD grief, where when you find out that you are neurodivergent and it is something that you have to deal with, that you go back and you look and you figure out that the whole time you were trying to make it, you didn't have what you needed to make it. And it's very sad. It's definitely something to cry about, because we have genius level ideas. We are so ahead of the curve on so much. We could see what's coming. And we're like, oh, let's jump in today. And we start, and then boom, we burn out, crash out into the wall. One of the early things I can remember is when I was in college, I failed accounting 2 or 3 times. Now, there was some other things going on, but I'm good at math. I'm good at reading, but I just didn't have it when it came to that class. And then it just got to the point where it was just too much for my brain. And I broke down. And I'm like, damn, I could have had my degree already. I had kind of just let that go, because I'm like, you know what? I'm already getting it out the mud. I'm just gonna get it out the mud anyway. And if you want to fool with me, just come on with it, shawty. Like that's how we gonna do it. We gonna be thugging out here. You know what I'm talking about? I just thought that's what it was gonna be. But we get to this point where completing tasks becomes such a relief. And it really does suck that 75% of the time we get things done because of a deadline, because we have to. There's this thing in ADHD called executive dysfunction, which I just found out is not technically a symptom of ADHD, but it's basically what ADHD is. We have problems starting and we have problems finishing. Everything that should be easy is not. Going through executive dysfunction is like knowing your internet is on, but no matter what you try to watch on TV, everything is buffering. You might be like, oh, that movie's in 4K, it's buffering a little bit. Let me just watch something in standard def that's like a short TV show. Well, that's buffering too. Well, let me just try a YouTube video. That's buffering too. Well, let me just try a TikTok video. That's buffering too. Everything is buffering, but your internet is working just fine on everything else. That's kind of what executive dysfunction feels like, because it might be time to get dressed and you may critically overthink what to wear because you are thinking about how comfortable I'm going to be, who is going to be there, how many times have I wore this, is this thing clean, do I have the shoes to match, how do I feel about myself when I look in the mirror when I have it on, am I going to take pictures in this shirt? And you think about all of these different things that have nothing to do with just picking an outfit, but it does have everything to do with picking an outfit. And then you are just sitting there, just looking at shirts. It's like, just put a shirt on. It ain't that easy. There are so many instances where executive dysfunction disrupts regular life. But when you add that to the objective of achieving a goal, knocking off things off your to do list, working on a big project, that weight is magnified because there may be other people depending on you to finish that project, or it just may mean something to you. It may be the thing that you feel like is going to change your life. And when the executive dysfunction jumps up and gets in the way, or when you are just completely burnt out from life and you don't feel like doing anything, the completion of that project is so far into the distance. And you get to the point where you just don't care. And it's like you want to care and you want to do it. You will sit in front of the computer screen, you ready to go. All right, I'm ready. Nothing. I got nothing. Let me just get on the phone. Let me look something up real quick. You will do everything else because you just don't have it. You will find ways not to finish. So when I tell you the feeling of finishing anything is absolutely amazing. Okay, let's have a little story time. So 2025, I finished my book that shares the name with this podcast, The Aligned Creative. Excuse me. It's about having inner alignment match the external expression and turning that creativity into a connection. It's a book that's for the modern creative out here dealing with all the pressures of the algorithm, trying to monetize what they got and still show up, be a whole person, have a life, run a business, and sustain the amount of energy that you need to be that person. I will do an entire podcast about the book at some point real soon. I think that might be something I should do since it has the same name. But I got so much joy out of finishing the book because I never thought I would be writing a book. I never considered that I would just sit up one day and just say, you know what I should do? I should write a book. It just never occurred to me that I had a book in me until a friend of mine recommended a book. Gosh, I can't remember the guy's name, but the book is called One Book, 1 Million, which basically means if you have an expertise of some sort, you should write a book about it and sell the book so people can be attracted to whatever your business is. And that wasn't such a foreign concept because I remember Tony Robbins talking about this way back in the day, where he basically said that you're considered an expert in a courtroom on any subject that you have wrote the book on. So when you write the book, that automatically qualifies you as an expert. I said, huh, you know what? Maybe I should write a book. But the thing was, before I could get to completing that book, there were so many steps that had to push me into completing that book. So let me just give you a little backstory. Early 2025, I lose my job. My contract get cuts about 4 months early. Really was having a hard time finding work anywhere. I got one job offer, and the job was not paying enough to cover my travel back and forth to the job. So I passed on that. And because I'm such a spiritual person, one of the things that I always know is everything is happening for a reason, everything is happening for me and not to me. So I'm always thinking about, okay, this rejection is steering me into a direction. What is it that I need to be available for? What is it that I need to be embracing? So when my boy Jafon Seeley, he recommended me read that book, One Millions. I thought about something that I had been working on, which was about making content. I'm a podcast producer, content producer. I work with people, some of your favorite influencers, celebrities. I've done podcasts, talking head videos, skits. I've done it all. And so what I thought was I could write a book about how to efficiently make content without burning yourself out. And so I came up with a few different frameworks. I was learning on how to use AI, so I was able to synthesize some things. And I took a guide that I did for my job and I spent it into a book because I was like, well, if I write this book on content production, then I could get some more production work. I finished that book and I did everything that I felt like I needed to do to sell that book, but something was missing from that. It's like I finished it, but it didn't feel like it was finished. I don't know if you ever had that feeling. You feel good enough to close the thing out, you feel finished, but something in the back of your head is like, there's something else I should be doing. I call it the Dr. Dre syndrome. There's always one more tweak before you get there. And I got to the point where I said, you know what? I'm just gonna let it go. And so I started building out the marketing and I did this thing with a transcript where I just talked about myself, I talked about my story, and then I threw it in AI and I said, spin me out like some chapters of a short ebook for this. And what happened was I got a really short version of the Align Creative. It wasn't called that at that time. But when I read it back, I said, oh my God, I'm not supposed to be talking about just content production. I'm supposed to be talking about the thing that I really love to talk about, which is mindset and spiritual alignment. I love to help people see what they have to offer to the world, get out of their own way, and be true to who they are. And so I do this all the time with my close friends. I'm always just giving out free game. If you throw me in a room and somebody dealing with something, I'm somebody who has unlimited ideas and I can always see the forest through the trees. So that becomes the motivation to start writing the book, The Align Creative. And when I tell you that it was so tough for me to really dig in on it because I still had to take care of my kids. I still had bills to pay. I still had to figure out how to function. And so at the time, I'm in a relationship and I'm telling my girl, hey, I'm working on this book. I really think this book is what I need to be doing because the jobs ain't coming through. That really did not connect with her. We'll just say that. And it wasn't until like I looked up one day and I had noticed, you know what? I had not had any medication in like 3 months. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe if I get my medication, I could probably finish this book. And what do you know? It helped me get there. But what ended up happening is I got at odds with my girl, my baby mama, ex, whatever you want to call her. And she was rejecting the entire premise of me putting everything into this book, but I was inspired. I had conviction that this is something that I needed to do, and I couldn't shake it. Getting all the way close to the end of the year, and I'm like, I feel really close. I feel like I'm at the end. And we end up having company, and like I didn't really have my space set up like I wanted to so I could zero in. And so I left the house. I told her, I said, hey, I'm about to go finish my book. I don't know what she thought I went to go do, but I literally left to go finish the book because something in me said, see, you're going to finish this book. You have dropped the ball on so many projects. You have let other people's feelings, you have let other people's objectives, their priorities get in the way of you doing something that you really feel conviction about doing. And this is not going to be that moment. So I left the house. I left for a whole day. I was up all night typing away, fixing stuff, coming up with ideas. And, it might have been like, shit, like 5, 6 in the morning. And then I just like bagged away from the computer, like, I'm done. I finished the book. It's done. Oh my God. I finished writing a book. This is everything that I am about put into a book. And I was by myself. So there was nobody around to share that moment. I had to celebrate myself and celebrate that moment. I told a couple of my friends, I got a couple congratulations, which was cool, but it would have meant a lot for the person I was with to celebrate that moment with me. But it's not up to them. It was more important that I celebrated myself. And I could just remember sitting back at my desk and thinking about everything that I didn't finish and just being like so proud of myself that I really did it. I finished my project. I said I was going to finish it, and I did. And I cried. Literally tears of joy, rejoicing in the fact by myself that I finished my book. I poured my heart and soul into a project that took multiple days, weeks, months, long nights, long days. Like, it took so much to get to that point. And I don't think that I have ever been more satisfied with anything ever in life than that moment when I realized that I had actually finished something. Like, I'm getting a little choked up just thinking about that moment. It was truly a beautiful moment. And man, I just hope that everybody out there can feel that feeling. I hope that everybody out there can really feel that feeling of completing the task, completing the project, finishing it, hitting save, closing the laptop, putting the tools away, whatever it is. I want you to finish. Get the thing done. Don't let I was like, don't let nobody or anything they got going on get in the way of you finishing that thing. If you feel something right here that tells you that you need to finish what you're working on, then you finish it. That thing, that spirit that is in you at that moment, embrace it. Go ahead, skip the party, skip the meal, skip the sleep. Not all the time, but just do what you gotta do. Don't hurt yourself, but do what you gotta do. Don't answer the phone. Don't respond to the text message. Don't look at the TV. Whatever the thing is, just do the thing and finish. It will feel so gratifying. I promise you. All right. Do it for you, but do it for me too. All right, man. That is going to do it for this episode of The Aligned Creative. I hope this episode was valuable. I hope you feel a little inspired. You feel that you got some value out of this time that you spent with me. Tell me in the comments something that you finished, or tell me what's the thing that you're working on. Shoot me a DM. Let me know what I could help you be accountable for. I am up to be an accountability partner. We might need to just join a little community where we all just keeping each other in check while we finishing things out. Whatever it is we got to do. But yeah, just let me know what you got going on. And if it's something that you want me to talk about, you feel like this could be good for somebody else, please share this, like, subscribe it, leave a review if you want, if you listening. I appreciate all the love. I need all the support I could get. I'm not ashamed to ask for the support. All right. I'm at CZ Pod Gang on Instagram, at CZ.Forway on TikTok, at The Align Creative 44 on all platforms to get at the show. Once again, I appreciate your time and your attention. And as always, stay aligned and stay blessed. Peace.